Let me be straight with you, because most of what you've been told about attraction is either incomplete or completely backwards. You've probably heard just be yourself or treat her with respect and she'll come around. And look, those things aren't wrong, but they're so vague that they're basically useless. Because guys who are doing everything right by that standard are still watching women lose interest in them every single day. So clearly, something is missing from that advice. I've spent years watching this play out in my own life, in the lives of guys I know, and in the patterns that repeat themselves over and over. And what I've come to understand is this. Attraction isn't something you convince someone into. It's something that either gets triggered or it doesn't. Your job is to understand what triggers it and what kills it. That's it. That's the whole game. So let's start with the thing that kills it most often. Because honestly, this is where 90% of men are making their mistake without even realizing it. When a man really likes a woman, his instinct is to show it. He texts more, he makes himself available, he tries to be helpful, funny, present. He thinks that by demonstrating how much he cares, she'll eventually feel the same way. This feels logical. In almost every other area of life, effort produces results. You work harder at your job, you get promoted. You train harder at the gym, you get stronger. So naturally you think if you just try harder with her, something will click. But here's where attraction works completely differently from everything else. The more effort you visibly pour into someone who hasn't chosen you yet, the less attractive you become to them. Not because effort is bad, but because the wrong kind of effort, at the wrong time, sends a signal you don't want to send. It signals that you've already decided she's above you, that her approval is something you need. And the moment someone senses you need their approval, the power shifts entirely in their direction. And once that shift happens, it's very hard to reverse. Think about your own experience as a human being. When someone is too eager to impress you, too quick to agree with everything you say, too available whenever you need them, do you value them more or less? Be honest. Most people instinctively pull back from that energy. It feels suffocating even when the person means well. Attraction needs space to breathe. It needs some tension, some uncertainty. When you remove all of that by being completely open and available from day one, you remove the very conditions that make attraction grow. Now, here's something I want to be careful about, because this is where a lot of advice goes wrong. The solution is not to become cold, distant, or play stupid games where you ignore her texts for 48 hours to seem mysterious. That's not what I'm talking about. That stuff is transparent and it makes you look insecure in a different way. What I'm actually talking about is having a real life that you're genuinely invested in. One where she is not the center of your universe, not because you're pretending, but because you actually have things going on that matter to you. Your work, your goals, your friendships, your own growth. When those things are genuinely present in your life, you naturally don't sit around waiting for her to text back. You naturally have days where you're busy and unreachable. You naturally have opinions and plans that don't revolve around her schedule. And that is magnetic. Not because it's a tactic, but because it communicates something real, that you are a man with a full life, and she would be adding to that life, not completing it. There's a massive difference between a man who makes himself scarce to manipulate a woman's emotions and a man who is simply living his life fully. Women can feel that difference immediately. One feels like a game. The other feels like genuine confidence. And confidence, real confidence, is probably the single most attractive quality a man can have. Not because it's flashy or loud, but because it's rare. Most men are walking around seeking external validation constantly, from their boss, from their friends, from the women they're interested in. A man who doesn't need that validation, who is secure in who he is, regardless of how anyone responds to him, that man stands out in a way that's very hard to ignore. Let me talk about communication for a second, because this is an area where a lot of men accidentally destroy attraction without knowing it. Overcommunication is a real problem. When you're constantly texting, sending memes, checking in, giving updates about your day, you're essentially handing yourself over completely. There's no anticipation. There's nothing for her to wonder about. And wondering, curiosity, That's actually a crucial ingredient in attraction. When someone is slightly unpredictable, when you don't always know exactly what they're doing or thinking, your brain pays more attention to them. You think about them more, you try to figure them out. That mental space is where attraction deepens. This doesn't mean you should be cryptic or weird. It means you shouldn't narrate your entire life to someone who hasn't earned that level of intimacy yet. Talk to her when you have something real to say. Let conversations end naturally without always trying to extend them. Don't respond to every single message within 30 seconds, not as a game, but because you're actually doing other things. The conversations you do have will carry more weight because they won't feel like background noise. Now let's talk about something that almost nobody addresses directly, which is what you're actually communicating when you chase someone who isn't showing strong interest back. When a woman gives you lukewarm signals and you keep pursuing anyway, you're essentially telling her that her bare minimum is enough for you. That you'll accept whatever scraps of attention she's willing to give. And people, not just women, everyone, they rise or fall to the level of what you accept from them. If you accept low effort, you get low effort. If you have standards about how you expect to be treated and you're willing to walk away when those standards aren't met, people suddenly start treating you differently. Not because you manipulated them, but because you've communicated your actual value. Walking away is probably the most underrated move in the entire dynamic of attraction. Not walking away as a threat, not walking away to make her chase you, but genuinely being willing to redirect your energy elsewhere when someone isn't matching it. When you can do that without bitterness, without drama, just calm self-respect, it changes everything, because most men can't do it. Most men will hang around hoping things change, hoping she'll eventually see what they see. And that hope makes them easy to take for granted. The men who are actually attractive in a deep, lasting way are the ones who value their own time and energy enough to invest it only where it's being met with genuine interest. That selectivity is not cruelty. It's self-respect. And it communicates to everyone around you, including women, that you are not someone who can be strung along. Here's another thing worth understanding. Women are extremely good at reading subtext. Not in a supernatural way, just in the way that humans who've grown up paying attention to social dynamics tend to be perceptive about authenticity. When you're performing confidence instead of actually feeling it, she notices. When your casualness is forced, she notices. When you're pretending not to care, but you actually care intensely, she notices. This is why tactics only work temporarily at best. The real work is internal. It's actually becoming the kind of man who has genuine options, genuine confidence, and genuine standards. When you get there, you don't need tactics because the reality speaks for itself. This brings me to something that I think is the core of everything. Most men approach attraction as if the goal is to get the woman to like them. And that framing is the problem. Because when that's your goal, you're always in a reactive position. You're adjusting yourself based on her responses. You're trying to figure out what she wants and then become that. And women can feel that shapelessness. It's not attractive. Flip the perspective entirely. Your job is not to make her like you. Your job is to figure out if she is someone worth your time and energy. That shift from how do I get her to choose me to let me see if she's worth choosing changes your entire energy. You start showing up as someone who is evaluating rather than auditioning. And that is a fundamentally more attractive position to be in. Not because it's strategic, but because it's honest. You don't actually know yet if this person is right for you. So why are you acting like the decision is already made? Go on that date, have that conversation, spend time with her, and actually pay attention to who she is and how she treats you. Is she curious about your life, or does she only talk about herself? Does she show up on time and follow through on what she says? Does she treat you with basic respect even when she's not in a great mood? These things matter, and when you're genuinely paying attention to them rather than just trying to impress her, the dynamic shifts naturally. One last thing I want to address, because it comes up constantly. The idea that if you've been in the friend zone or she's told you she's not interested, it's over. I don't actually believe that's always true. But the way most men try to get out of that position is completely wrong. They try harder, they make their feelings clearer, they have the talk. None of that works because it's more of the same energy that created the situation. What actually changes perception is changed behavior over time. If she's seen you as someone who is eager and always available, the only thing that shifts that is genuinely becoming someone who isn't. Not pretending, actually redirecting your energy, working on yourself, getting busy with things that matter to you, meeting other people. And sometimes after some time has passed and she sees that you've genuinely changed and grown, the perception shifts. Sometimes it doesn't. But either way, you've spent that time becoming a better version of yourself rather than sitting around waiting for her to change her mind. That's a win, regardless of what she does. The honest summary of everything I've said is this. Stop treating attraction like a problem to be solved with the right combination of words and tactics. Start treating it as a natural outcome of being a man with a real identity, real standards, and genuine confidence. Build that. And you won't need to worry about making anyone miss you. They just will.